When you're on the inside, the default position we've talked about in previous videos keeps you the safest. But today we're going to introduce some more advanced tactics that you can play with, building off of our concepts of traffic from our previous video to give you more success when you fight. Assisting us in today's lesson on advanced infighting tactics will be our competitor, Pat.
Yep.
Our default inside fighting stance exists for the same reason as the outside and the middle distance stances, to protect us from the most pressing threats at those ranges. It's important to remember that the guard guards. It's not just a passive position where your hands are up and somehow you're safe. No, it's to guard. It's a verb and it's active. And this is the concept of traffic that we introduced a few videos back. On the outside, we hold our lead hand on our center line and our rear hand on our jaw line to protect us from the most pressing threats. If Pat and I are fighting each other on the outside, the only thing he can do is step in with a jab or step in with a long three, and my hands are already in a position to obstruct the path of those shots. The same thing plays out in the middle distance. As we're in an exchange, I square up a little bit, I get my high guard up, because now I need to deal with hooks and uppercuts, and I use my forearms to cut the path, to obstruct the path of those shots. So in the middle distance, you can see the same thing. If he throws a hook at me, I have an obstruction to the path of that attack already in place. This concept is demonstrated in our default inside stance as well. When I settle into this position, my right hand is obstructing them from pulling their left elbow back and hitting me with their left hand. My left arm is obstructing them from attacking the left side of my body with their right hand, and my head is hidden behind their shoulder where I'm using their own shoulder as traffic to protect my head. I've got my head to a safe position, and I'm creating traffic for all of their paths of attack. Understanding this concept of getting your head to a safe position and creating traffic for your opponent's attacks gives me a whole nother dimension of play on the inside. All of a sudden, I'm not stuck always being on my opponent's left side, and I can even navigate to my closed side with relative ease and safety as long as I'm careful to create traffic on the way there. I would do this from the default position by creating an underhook with my right hand, creating an underhook on the far side with my left hand, leveraging their arm out so they can't follow through on a shot, and then transitioning my head to the far side shoulder, all while keeping that space tight. I'm managing that distance between us so that they can't wiggle free, and I'm always conscious on the inside of protecting my liver as I maneuver. Keeping traffic on my opponent's hands and arms, I can prevent them from having a clear path to hit me with follow through. They might be able to slap at me a little bit, but they won't be able to drive through on a hard punch, all right? This allows me to safely maneuver my way around and hopefully clear a path where I can hit them. Some things to keep in mind to allow you some more freedom on the inside. Having a safe head position as I maneuver around the inside, just like I would at any distance. Creating traffic to an opponent's attacks or moving quickly so they don't have time to punch me. Always attacking with my hand that is nearer to the target, which means if my hand is high, I'm attacking the head, and if my hand is low, I'm attacking the body. Take the nearest and clearest path to your target. I need to make sure that I'm always trying to outposition my opponent, which means they're in bad posture and I'm in good posture to the best of my ability. If I have all the good head position and traffic in the world but bad posture, I can't do anything with that position. Just like in our default inside position, I need to create and close space on my terms, and I need to recognize that any space created belongs to both fighters, not just the one who created it. Don't meet force with force. You never want to end up in a pushing or shoving match with somebody. It's always going to be better to twist or to turn them. I'm always trying to use less energy than my opponent. whether that's by standing them up into a bad position where I have better posture and they are vulnerable, or because I'm hanging on them and trying to tire out their legs and their low back. If you learned something, make sure to like and subscribe. And if you'd like some inside fighting tips, check out my Ko-fi account where I can break down your sparring or fight footage. So, while you can frame or pin with your outstretched arm, knuckles, glove, or palm, most fighters want to be closer so that they have more agency over the space that they're creating. They'll use their shoulder, they'll use their elbow and their forearm, and in a strange, almost contradictory twist, the best tool you have to create offense on the inside is your head. Framing with your head is the ultimate infighting maneuver if you're looking to be offensive. It's the reverse of when you're trying to exit from a clinch. If somebody has you in a clinch, you're moving from your head to your shoulder, to your elbow, to your forearm and hand to create space. When you're fighting on the inside, you're trying to close that space and free up a hand. So you move from your hand to your elbow to your head, and then once your head's where your hand and your elbow used to be, that hand is free to attack. Let's give 3 examples of infighting situations that deviate from our default infighting stance. Our first example can be an entry to the inside onto the rear shoulder of your opponent. So things don't always go the way you want to. Sometimes a good plan now is better than a great plan later, and it's better to move in and tie somebody up on the inside than it is to wait for a perfect situation while you're taking a beating. If you enter onto the wrong shoulder, let's talk about what you can do to keep yourself safe. So he's throwing shots at me and I'm in a bad position and I can sit here and wait to get to that shoulder, but every second that I'm here is a second that I'm taking damage. So I rush in, boom, and I make contact. He tries to tie me up, I try to stop him from tying me up. I pop my head to a safe position and I've got traffic here and he's trying to hit my liver on the far side. I've got this underhook stopping him from doing so. From here, if I want to transition, I don't want to free up his right hand. So I establish my overhook and then I'm going to slide over tight across his chest to keep myself safe. And just like that, we're going to settle back into our traditional infighting stance. Our next example is a head-first entry off of my opponent's right hook. This is one of my favorite entries to the inside, one of my favorite tactics to attack the solar plexus and the liver, and it only works if you got somebody aggressive who will hook with you in the middle distance. So I'm in the middle distance, he throws the 4 and I slam my head inside of that 4 onto his shoulder. From here I have access to the liver and to the solar plexus, and I can attack the solar plexus keeping my liver protected with my elbow tight to my body because I'm not on his left side, so I have to prioritize protecting that liver. So again, we're in stance, he throws the 4, bang, 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 and usually when you rip somebody like this, they're gonna try to tie you up, and all of a sudden we pummel, and we end up on the inside, and then it becomes this game of head position and traffic. Our third example is if you're a southpaw entering into an inside exchange. I need to prioritize the same thing, getting a safe head position, establishing traffic for both of my opponent's attacks, keeping good posture, and controlling their ability to attack my liver. So as a southpaw, when I hit the inside, even though this default position isn't the same, the principles still apply. So we hit the inside, and I immediately need to protect my liver, so I'm gonna tie up his left arm so he can't hit me. Then I need to get my head to a safe position. I'm gonna use his head as traffic to protect me and slam my head onto his lead shoulder. And from here, I need to create traffic one more layer just by stopping him from throwing his rear hand. And I can do this either by blocking and getting the inside track so I can catch and pitch, or by literally framing out either with my glove or with my elbow and my forearm to keep myself safe. Additionally, as a southpaw, when you hit the inside, you want to get your foot inside of his lead foot, and you want to try to walk him over his heels so that he's not in a position to fight you while you're ripping and attacking that center line. Inside fighting is my specialty. When I fought in MMA, I loved dirty boxing from the clinch. I had so much fun in the years that I spent doing Muay Thai kickboxing, and I love bringing these concepts over to boxing. My favorite fights are old school fights where the thumb is free and the gloves are small, because the clinch and the inside game plays out a lot more like it does in a martial art without these big gloves to protect you. But all of these concepts and tactics can be applied with gloves on. You just have to master them that much more to be able to do it with such a muted piece of equipment. I hope you guys learned something about the tactics and principles that'll give you more freedom to play around on the inside and experiment with how you can use this distance so that you can have the most success when you fight.